Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. It's been a few days since I've last seen The Last Jedi. As you guys know, when I first saw the film, I left the theaters feeling a little bit disappointed and confused. I didn't really know why I was disappointed, but after watching the movie again and talking to my friends, by friends I mean just Ben, American and British version, I kind of have a better grasp of what kind of didn't work in this movie. And that's what we'll be talking to you guys about today. There will be spoilers in this from The Last Jedi, just a fair warning. Now, for the casual fan, The Last Jedi was a pretty good movie. There's big space battles, beautiful special effects, a lot of humor, and cute animals. I mean, these are the things that have always attracted the masses to the franchise. But as a fan who looks at the films as the second half of a series, which is a part of a larger group of trilogies, I couldn't help but feel like there were so many missed opportunities in the movie. I think one of the things most fans and critics can agree on is that Finn and Rose Tico's side story was one of the weaker ones. Rose Tico isn't exactly an unlikable character. She's this mechanic who's also one of Finn's groupies, and she's kind of adorable in the way she looks up to Finn. But their interaction should have really just been limited to one or two scenes, but instead Rian Johnson drags it out into a storyline with extremely poor pacing and a lack of chemistry between the characters. They just aren't really that interesting together, and that kiss at the end is unexpected, but not in a good way. It was more like, oh, that's kind of awkward. One of the things J.J. Abrams did quite well in The Force Awakens was develop the bromance between Finn and Poe. It was really well done. The two characters and actors had wonderful chemistry, and they brought a sense of excitement that reflected the crazy stunts they were trying to pull off, and that really resonated with the audience. The Last Jedi missed a huge opportunity by not bringing these two back together. One can clearly see the freedom Rian Johnson was given in creating this film, but sometimes his changes to the groundwork that J.J. Abrams laid down can be a bit jarring. General Hux, for instance, goes from being a delightfully terrifying fascist madman to being the butt end of every joke. He becomes almost a cartoonish figure who is constantly being thrown around by the angry Force users in the First Order. I was almost expecting an anvil to drop on him at one point. Star Wars has always had its share of funny characters, but what bothers me is that he's completely different from how he was portrayed in the last film. Where Rian Johnson does stick to J.J. Abrams' script is his portrayal of Captain Phasma. Once again, the Crumb Stormtrooper finds herself defeated in another disappointing way, and falling down a giant shaft. If you've read the Phasma novel and comics, you'll know that she's actually an extremely interesting character and quite the badass. It's something that both films failed to really capitalize on. But to be fair to The Last Jedi, this is a film that was already pushing 2.5 hours, so it's unlikely they had enough time to fully develop a character like Phasma on screen. But if you're just going to shove her down another shaft, why not just leave her out of the script? Oh, that's right, you have to sell merchandise. And that is one of the problems with The Last Jedi. It just feels bloated. There are way too many characters, especially new ones that are just quickly introduced and not developed at all, making you wonder why were they created in the first place. This is what leads us to our next character. Every Star Wars series has some amazing actors in them. Yet Alec Guinness, Peter Cushing, James Earl Jones in the original trilogy, Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, Christopher Lee, Samuel L. Jackson, and Ahmed Best in the prequels, and in The Last Jedi, you have Benicio del Toro. But his character DJ is a big letdown. Rian Johnson gives us just enough information to make us interested about DJ, and then he just kind of randomly disappears towards the end of the film. Maybe his character arc finishes in the third film, but as of now, I feel like he was just an unnecessary character. The chase scene between the Resistance and the First Order also suffers from the same problem we mentioned before. Rian Johnson takes an established character like Poe Dameron and makes him this trigger-happy hothead who doesn't follow orders and even starts a mutiny. It just felt out of character. The Poe Dameron we saw in The Force Awakens took risks, but he always put the mission first. He wasn't selfish and understood the chain of command. Then you have Laura Dern's character, Admiral Hodo, who is an extremely interesting character unlike any that we've ever seen in Star Wars before. She would have made the perfect antagonist for the story arc, and introduced some genuine conflict in an otherwise boring slow-speed chase. Instead, we get this half-assed conflict, which really isn't a conflict because Poe Dameron and Admiral Holdo are both inherently good guys, and without that conflict in place in this storyline, you just have a boring, slow-speed chase. You need conflict. Talking about established characters, Snoke was another very mysterious character developed by The Force Awakens who was just tossed away abruptly at the end of The Last Jedi. By killing off Snoke, you get rid of the unstoppable evil force, and without that, where is the conflict? The First Order just becomes this faceless organization of disposable stormtroopers and star destroyers. Who else in the First Order are we actually afraid of now? Hux is a clown, Phasma is most likely dead, the only person left is Kylo Ren, and I still can't tell if he's evil or not. The Last Jedi doesn't show us why the First Order is evil, it just kind of tells us, and I totally don't buy it. Sure, Starkiller Base was just a ripoff of the Death Star, but at least it made the First Order seem incredibly dangerous. Then you have Rey, the beacon of light and hope that JJ established in The Force Awakens. What could have been more unexpected and awesome than having her join Kylo Ren? That would bring in a new dynamic and change Star Wars, create a fresh new direction that I would be excited to see. But instead, we just got a bunch of plot twists that weren't really necessary. As a matter of fact, it kind of felt like an M. Night Shyamalan film at times. But instead, Rey refuses to join Kylo and things kind of reset. We're once again at the beginning of The New Hope, or The Force Awakens, or The Phantom Menace. They've killed all the good guys and all the bad guys, and now we have to reset. But this makes no sense because this is the second installment in a trilogy. What are they going to do in the third one? How are they going to conclude this? How much time are they going to have to spend on introducing new characters and new themes? I appreciate that Disney is giving more creative freedom to its directors. That's what made the expanded universe so engaging, but if you're going to do a trilogy, there needs to be some continuity. The first episode is supposed to introduce us to characters and story elements, the second episode is supposed to build on that, and the third is supposed to create a conclusion. Well, that's all we have for you guys today. Let me know what you think. Did Rian Johnson miss a lot of opportunities in The Last Jedi? Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification button, and like us on Facebook. And guys, I hope you really enjoyed your Christmas, Hanukkah, Life Day, or whatever the hell you guys celebrate. Well, guys, thanks for joining us today. If you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.